The United States women's national team just qualified for the Olympics, and now they are moving on to the She Believes Cup. Here's the roster. Goalkeepers: Jane Campbell, Adrianna Franch, Ashlyn Harris, and Alyssa Naeher. Jane Campbell is the new keeper who was called into camp. Defenders: Vlatko called up 9 defenders. Abby Dahlkemper, Tierna Davidson, Dunn, Krieger, Kelley O'Hara, Margaret or Midge, Purce, Becky Sauerbrunn, Casey Short, and Emily Sonnett. Tierna Davidson and Midge Purce were the 2 players who were called up that weren't on the Olympic qualifying roster. Midfielders: he called up 6 midfielders. Jorden DiBiase, Julie Ertz, Lindsey, Horan, Lavelle, Sam Mewis, and Andi Sullivan. So Jorden DiBiase is a new player he called up. Lastly, the forwards. He called up 7 forwards: Tobin Heath, Carly Lloyd, Jessica McDonald, Kristen Press, Mallory Pugh, Megan Rapinoe, and Lynn Williams. Mallory Pugh was the player who got called up who wasn't on the Olympic qualifying roster. Jane Campbell. So Jane is a goalie, obviously. She's 25 years old. She plays for the Houston Dash in the NWSL. She has 3 caps for the United States. She has 1 save and 0 clean sheets. The last season, she had a great NWSL season. She had like 4 penalty kick saves, which was ridiculous. I think it's hard to judge a goalkeeper based on their stats because you also have to take into consideration their back line. Houston's one of the worst teams in the league. So I think that when you put that into consideration, you realize that she was under so much more stress than, let's say, the goalkeeper for North Carolina. Just keep that in mind. If you go and look at her stats, she is dealing with a terrible back line. I think Vlatko is just calling her up because he sees her as a potential future goalkeeper for this team. I've showed 2 clips in the past. When she did play for the national team against Mexico, she did not bring an air of confidence to her game. You could see it in the way that she didn't even try to go for 2 of the goals that were scored off corner kicks. But in my opinion, after the season that Aubrey Bledsoe had, Aubrey Bledsoe is so much better. Like, she's a phenomenal keeper. She always comes up so big time in these games, and she's consistent. She makes saves that they literally shock me. Like, my jaw will literally fall to the ground. So if you haven't watched the NWSL and you're gonna watch this year, I would watch for Aubrey Bledsoe. She's a keeper for Washington Spirit, and she's very good. But again, she hasn't had that much experience with the full national team compared to Jane Campbell. Midge Purce. She's 24, and Vlatko has her marked as a defender. For Portland, she played as a forward. So it'll be interesting to see how she converts to that outside back position. I know she's played it in the past. She's scored so many goals for Portland. She's been a great asset to them, and Portland actually traded her this offseason. So now she got traded to Sky Blue FC. She hasn't played for them yet. She got her first cap for the United States against Costa Rica last year in November. In her first cap, she had a cross that got deflected, and Kristen Press ended up scoring off of that. She had a few runs where she went around the defender and like freaking schooled her and broke her ankles and made a nice cross. I kind of feel the same way about her as I feel about Jane Campbell and Jorden DiBiase, is that they're young players. I don't necessarily think Vlatko is calling them up to put them on the roster, but he wants them to train in the environment that as if they would be on that team, because after the Olympics he has the next 4 years to deal with this team if he's still the coach, which, I mean, that's a whole other can of worms to open up. Casey Short plays for the Chicago Red Stars of the NWSL. She's 29 years old, and she's a defender. She has 31 caps for the United States, 2 assists. She has 47 caps for Chicago and 4 goals for them. She was one of those players that were the last ones cut from the World Cup roster, and in my opinion, I think she should have been on the roster. She's definitely a defender that gets in the attack a lot, not only for her club team, but also for the United States. Using the game versus Costa Rica in 2019 as an example, she had plenty of opportunities where she got up in the attack. I was honestly surprised that she was left off the Olympic qualifying roster. One thing that I noticed about Casey is that there have been moments where she gets caught out of position where they're able to capitalize and score. I noticed one of them was against Sweden. She got pulled out and they ended up scoring, but I don't think that was necessarily entirely her fault. Again, I wouldn't be mad if Casey made the roster. I wouldn't be disappointed if she didn't make it. I think she's one of those players who is solid. But currently we have a lot of defenders all competing for 4 spots. I mean, there are 9 defenders on the roster and only 4 of them are on the field, so that's something to consider. Tierna Davidson. If you've been watching women's soccer for any period of time recently, you would probably know who she is. She's a phenomenal player. She's young. She's 21 years old. She plays for the Chicago Red Stars. She actually left Stanford as a sophomore to come play the NWSL. I think she's solid. She brings like this air of confidence to her, but it's quiet confidence. She's definitely not a very loud player in any sense, and I think that that's a good thing. Tierna Davidson broke her ankle during a game against Stanford. She actually ended up missing World Cup qualifying due to that, and she was out for a while with that injury. She did make the World Cup roster and go on to win the World Cup, and then she actually ended up injuring her ankle again. I don't know if it was the same ankle or a different ankle. She ended up missing the NWSL final. Clearly, she's had a lot of injury plague her career the last few years. So she's a great player with lots of potential, and I definitely can see her making the Olympic roster. She's going to be a huge part of this team for the next 10 years if she continues to play for that long. She just needs to get healthy. That's why she's left off the qualifying rosters, because she was injured. Jorden DiBiase. So this is one of the names that I feel like people wouldn't know who she was. She's 23 years old. She plays at Washington Spirit as a midfielder. So I first started watching Jorden when she was a junior at Stanford. That's when she won the national championship in 2017. And I just wanted to talk about her stats real quick. She started 91 out of 92 games she appeared in over her 4-year career. She scored 31 goals, including 15 game winners. 15 game winners? That's ridiculous. That's so good. She had 23 assists. She had some amazing goals in college. I felt like she wasn't necessarily one of those players who you would watch thinking she's going to score a goal, but then she just pop up in the most random times and just be like, yeah, I'm just going to score on you. I doubt she'll play, but it'll be a great experience for her going forward. So I don't think she'll necessarily make the Olympic roster, but I think once the Olympics are over and players retire and things start to change, we'll definitely see more of her if she continues up her form. Mallory Pugh. We all know who Mallory Pugh is, and if you don't know who she is, she's a 21-year-old forward for the women's national team. She plays at Sky Blue FC, but she just got traded, so she's been playing for the Washington Spirit the last few years in the NWSL. She's one of those players who broke onto the team at a very young age. She was 17 when she got her first cap in San Diego against Ireland. I was actually at that game too. It was really cool. She brought so much energy and excitement when she was first, brought onto this team, because clearly she wanted to prove herself. And I felt like after the 2016 Olympics, we kind of started to see her decline a little bit, especially the last year. She hasn't been the player that we're used to seeing. I think being traded to Sky Blue will be a huge thing for her. It'll force her to be out of her comfort zone, to improve, to work on other things. And I also think her being coached under Vlatko is a huge deal for her too, because Vlatko is known for developing players. That's what he does. There was a lot of controversy surrounding Vlatko when he actually cut her from the Olympic roster. For myself, I was initially surprised, but the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. Even though she did get cut, she did train with the team, so Vlatko still clearly sees value in her, and he's made that known. But I think her getting cut will be a huge wake-up call for her, that getting the call-up is not a guarantee, and that she's going to have to work harder to get back into the form that she used to be in. And again, her getting cut can either be one of the most beneficial things to her career, or it can be her downfall, so I guess we'll see. I hope this video cleared some things up for you if you were unfamiliar about the roster, about some of the new players. I will leave the schedule and links to where you can watch all the games in the description below, so check that out. I also have a lot more information down there about other random things, articles, whatnot, so check that out too if you're interested. Stay tuned, because I will be making 3 more videos about Spain, Japan, and England. I'm going over the last times we played them, what I thought, the analysis, the players who did well, the players who did bad, the strengths that all of the opponents bring to the field, and what to look out for in the future. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. I'll see you guys later.